Harihi Om Gananan Tva Ganapati Gum Havamahe Kavim Kavinamupamashravasthamam Jyeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anashunvanno Devisida Sadhanam Prano Devi Saraswati Vaje Virvajinevate Dhinama Mitrayavato Ganeshaya Namaha Saraswatyai Namaha Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Ramanuja Daya Patram Jnana Vairagya Bhushanam Srimat Venkatanarthayam Vande Vedanta Deshikam Sadashiva Samaramba Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Padyantam Vande Guru Parampara Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Sarva Lokanam Visaje Pavaroginaha Nidaye Sarva Vidyanam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Narayanarpanamustu. Sai Ram, and welcome to week 5 of our journey into the magnificent Bhaja Govindam by the great Acharya Sri Adi Shankaracharya. So firstly, let me congratulate you for making this journey to the midpoint, week 5. And if you've been following me every week, then you've certainly been doing the right thing. But to continue doing so would mean you would now need to complete the other 5 weeks in order to fully make a circle, right? Then the circle you need to revisit to see whether everything that you have learned in these 10 weeks is slowly being practicalized and applied into your daily lives. Otherwise, when the appointed time of death comes, samprapte sannihite kale nahi rakshati dukrin karane. The appointed time of death comes, nothing will save you. No one can save you. No amount of money can save you. No amount of wealth, fame, position, power can save you except what you have made yourself within. That and only that. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudamate, Samprapte Sanihite Kale, Nahi Rakshati Dukrin Karani, Muda Jahidana Trishnam, Guru Sadbuddhyo Manasi Vitrishnam, Yellabase Nija Karmo Patam Tena vinodaya chittam naristana bharanabhidesham dristva magamohavesham etan mamsavasadi vikaram manasi vichintaya varam varam nalini dalajalagattamati taralam tadvat jivitamati sayachapalam Vidhi vyadhyabhimanagrastam lokam chokam hatam cha samastam yavat vitho parjana sakta stavan nija parivaro rakta paschat jivati jarjara gehe vartam kopina prachati gehe yavat bhavano nivasati dehe Tavat prachati kushalam gehe gatavati vayau deha paye bharya vivyati tasmin kaye bhalasthavat kridha sakha tarunastavat taruni sakha vruddhastavat chinta sakha parame brahmane kopina sakha Kate kanta kaste putra samsaro yamativa vichitra kasyatvam kutahayat तत्त्वं चिन्तयतदिथा ब्राहत सत्सङ्गत्वे नित्सङ्गत्वं नित्सङ्गत्वे निर्मोहत्वं निर्मोहत्वे निश्चलतत्त्वं निश्चलतत्त्वं जीवन्मुक्ति वयसि गता कामविकारा शुष्के नीरे काकासारा क्षीणे वित्ते का परिवारा ज्ञान तत्त्वे का संसारा मा कुरु धन जन यौवन गर्वं हरति निमेषात् कालत् सर्वं मायामयमिदमखिलं हृत्वा ब्रह्मपदं त्वं प्रविश विदित्वा विनयामिन्यौ सायं प्रातः शिशिरवसन्तौ पुनरायात कालक्रीडति गच्छत् वायु तदपि न मुञ्चत् आशावायु ख्याते कान्ता धनगत चिन्ता वतुला किं तव नास्ति नियन्ता त्रिजगति सज्जन संगतिरेका भवति भवार्णवतरणे नौका जतिलो जतिलो मुंडी लुंचित केशा काषायांबर बहुकृतवेषा पश्यानापि च न पश्यति मूढो यदरानिमित्तं बहुकृतवेषा. This is beautiful, the verse number 14. It's now telling you jatilo mundi lunchita kesha काषायांबर बहुकृतवेषा पश्यनापि च न पश्यति मूढो ह्यदरनिमित्तं बहुकृतवेषः. जतिलो mundi lunchita kesha. There are many who go with matted locks, many who have clean shaven heads. Kashayambara bahukruta vesha. They wear orange, they wear yellow, they wear clothes that to the outer world represents divinity and divine quality. Kashayambara bahukruta vesha. Vesha means natak. It's a show. Pashyanapi na pashyati mudo. All just for a livelihood, oh fool. Hidarana mittam, seeing the truth revealed before you, bahukrita vesha, you're still foolish because you don't see it. Here the value is appreciating truth that verily happens in front of our eyes. We see or we look but we don't see. Same thing. We hear but we don't listen. We talk but we don't speak. We appreciate but we don't feel. So the truth must be understood here, right? Truth can be camouflaged by Maya. So if you focus on the Maya, you miss the truth. If you focus on the truth, the Maya will not affect you in any way. So Maya will always come. When it rains, you are driving, you on the what do you call them? Wipers, yes, wipers. When you're driving and it rains, you on the wiper, right? When the sun is shining, you don't on the wiper. Does that mean the wiper is not working, is inoperative, or is non-existent? Truth is like that. We only use it when there is a necessity, when we think it is useful. Otherwise, it is there. Somewhere it is there. We never use it. So that is the truth. Shankaracharya saying, right? He's saying, verily, he's saying, the master is saying, people with matted locks, shaven head, may not be self-realized. These are outer changes. Outer changes are never indicative of inner being. Okay, understand that. One should work on the core of one's inner being by seeking the Lord inside, by seeking the truth inside, because Ekam Sat, the truth is one, and that is verily God, and He is known by many names. As I have said before, Ekam Sat Vipraha Bahuda Vadanti. Many people know by different names. So, true change is the inner change. Okay, there was this sadhu in a village in India, and he was very, very into the spiritual sciences. So a lot of people came to him with their problems, seeking advice, seeking guidance, and all of that. So he had to see all these people and help them through. And he became more and more angry with all the people who were coming to see him because he could not focus on his own tapasya, which means he could not meditate, he could not do all those things that he used to do in order to further move into the higher consciousness, right? So he became very angry, and one day he told them, today is the last day I'm going here. After that, I'm going to the mountains where I'll be at peace and I can continue this journey of mine within. So people were sad, but they didn't want to stop him. Next day he went, he went to the mountains and he was doing all that, and one day, a few days later, he wanted to have a drink. So he took the kalash and he went to take some water in the little river nearby. So he took the kalash. As he was coming back, he slipped, the kalash slipped from his hand and fell. Of all the water also poured out. So he went chasing after the kalash and he tripped on a stone and he fell. So he became very angry when he caught hold of the kalash, right, which had no water. That means he had to go back to the river to take it. He threw the kalash in anger. And then immediately he realized it really doesn't matter actually whether I'm in the midst of the villagers dealing with their problems or I'm alone, totally detached from society, yet I feel the same anger. So it is not the external circumstances, but really how I feel inside that will make me who I am, that will make me better myself, that will make me evolve, that will make me improve myself. Therefore, true change is the inner change. That's the moral of this story. True change is the inner change. Even though the outer change can impact the inner change, it is only the inner change that can impact the outer change far more. I'll repeat that, yeah. Even though the outer change can impact the inner change, it is the inner change that will far more impact the outer change, because the inner beauty is something that the more and more you focus and the more and more you treat and the more and more you become close to, it will come outward, it shows. Some people, when you look at their face, you can see a tejas, a little bright shine. That is what we are talking about. And 100% you can see this in yourself if you start going within and slowly start changing. When you start changing, you may not notice it, but people around you will notice. That is the indicator. But people say, hey, how come you changed so much? Huh? You're not the person you used to be. And straight away we go back to our old self. No, I can't have my friends and people around me, my family, my relatives thinking about me like this, right? So what I'm saying is self-observation. Self-observation with the purity of mind and seeing within yourself will certainly help you on the path of spiritual journey. That's why he's saying, Hridaya nimittam bahukrita vesha. At the end of the day, you know all this truth. So why are you not changing, right? Moral is always check yourself. Go inward. Seek the change slowly but surely, temper. When you are listening to a radio station, I'm talking about those days, nowadays it's all digital, right? You just press the numbers and you'll get the radio station. Those days, the whole transistor radios and all that. So you'll have a little, one on-off switch, and then you'll have a big knob to tune, and then you'll have a smaller knob to fine tune. So more than the big knob, it is the small knob that you have to tune until you get the station, right? I know these only too well because I used to tune those stations for my mom and my dad, more for my mom. So fine tuning. Now I look at it and I'm thinking, even those days, God was already telling me life is like this station. Unless you fine tune yourself, you will not get a clear transmission. So don't forget, whatever goes on outside will go on with you or without you. So what you must do is live in the moment. Once, you need to value your life and you need to tell yourself, the reason I was born is not just to live, a random life, whatever comes, whatever goes, kesara, sera, whatever will be. If you know that as a fact, then why aren't you doing something about it? So this man once went to Guru Nanak Ji, Guru Nanak Sahib, and he asked, Guruji, Baba Dev, what is the value of life? Guru Nanak Ji looked around him. So he took a stone, put it in this man's hand. He said, you go out there for 2 days, you ask people, what is the value of the stone? But I don't want you to sell it. In 2 days' time, you come back and tell me what people said when you asked them, what is the value of the stone? Okay, so the man was, okay. He said, Guru is telling me this, so I'll do, So the first person he went to was in a market, As he was going out, he saw a market, he said, okay, might as well start here. So he went to orange seller, fruits. The guy looked at the stone, he said, this one. Okay, if you give me the stone, I'll give you 12 oranges. Take it and go. Take 12 oranges, give me the stone. The man said, sorry, I've changed my mind, I'm not selling it. Then he went a bit further and he saw a vegetable seller. Vegetable seller looked at it and said, you give me this stone and you take 1 sack of potatoes. He looked at it and said, okay, 1 sack of potatoes is more valuable than 12 oranges. Then he said, but no, I'm not selling it now. Okay. And said, if you don't want one, you take 2. No problem. No, I'm not selling this. Right. Next day, he went to a jewelry store. The jeweler looked at the stone, and of course, he looked at it, with his magnifying glass and all that. He'll say, I'll give you 50 lakhs for this. 50 lakhs, like 50,000 pounds, right? I'll give you 50,000 pounds for this. So the man said, no, 50,000, I don't want to sell it. He said, okay, look. Take 100,000. Okay, but give me the stone. And said, no, I'm not selling. Then he said, okay, it's already been, a day and a half. So let me go back to Guru Nanak Ji. But on the way, he saw a precious stone shop. So he said, let me just go in here and ask. So he went into the precious stone shop. The owner was there, looking at some stones. A very old shop. He went there and he put the stone to him, to the owner, and said, what do you think is value? What can you give me for this? So the precious stone store owner, he looked at the stone, automatically he pulled out a red velvet cloth. He put the stone on the cloth, right? He looked at it for 2 minutes. Then he went around it, 2 or 3 circles. And then he sat down in front of this man and he said, where did you get this stone from? It is a priceless ruby. Even if I sell the whole world and my life, I will not be able to give you the price for this priceless stone. This fellow was a bit confused. But still he said, no, thank you, I'm not selling this. And he went. So he went to Guru Nanak, and Guru Nanak asked him, okay, so you've been and you've asked all these people, right? You tell me what they said. So the man said, oh, look, the orange seller, the vegetable seller, the jewelry people, the precious stone, what all they said to me. So from 12 oranges, 2 sacks of potato, 50 lakhs went to 100 lakhs. And this precious stone fellow said, it's value. No, there's no price for it. You cannot value it. It's invaluable, right? So he was confused. He said, Nanakji, I don't know what this means. Nanakji says, this is the value of life, my son. He says, you, Manusha, you may be a precious stone, even priceless. That's how God created you. But people will value you just like the orange seller. People will value you just like the vegetable seller. People will value you just like the jewelry store. That means people will value you on the basis of their knowledge, their financial status, their level of information, their belief in you, their motive for being nice to you, for entertaining you, their ambition and their risk of taking that step towards you. That's how you are judged. But do not fear. You will surely find someone, right, who will discern your true value and will hold you for what you are. That's the precious stone store owner. Only he could actually appreciate the true priceless value of the stone. So your life is like that as well. don't think for one moment you are any less than the other, right? It is not richness that distinguishes the spiritual status of one and the other. It is the absolute inner beauty that comes out that distinguishes one from the other, right? Everything else is but a show. What did the great William Shakespeare say? He said, the world is a stage and all upon it are actors, right? We read that and we say, wow, what wonderful work William Shakespeare has done. But when we read Viveka Chudamani, when we read Bhagavad Gita, when we listen to the Ramayana, we just dismiss it as mere myth. This is all grandmother stories. Son, daughter, please turn on and put some Netflix on. We get more entertained than listening to these old Ramayana granny tales and Mahabharata granny tales. But William Shakespeare, wonderful, wonderful chap, right? See, the most difficult part of the spiritual path, the most difficult part of the spiritual path is to avoid getting down by the illusion that surrounds us. That means we must always be self-aware in order to inculcate the self-consciousness within us. Once you overcome this hurdle, then everything else becomes effortless. Moving from I to we to him, right? That's your purpose in life. Moving from I to we to him. That is the purpose of your life. We follow many spiritual exercises, right? You all know yourselves. We follow many spiritual exercises. But this very truth, we don't recognize. The crucial element, which is the central point in our spiritual journey, we are not putting into practice, right? So how do we do it? Because selfishness will keep you in the world. Selflessness will take you to a spiritual world. So it's not of any good to anybody, when you are doing things outwardly to enrich your life in a different way, but doing very little to enrich your life inwardly. Because if you enrich your life inwardly, outwardly it will show, right? So we miss the power, we miss the ease, we miss the grandeur, we miss the magnificence of life. But we forget dedication and surrender to the very aim of our birth, right? Because the very aim of your birth is to cull the possibility and the potential of rebirth. Punar Janmaha. I have given you this birth. I told you 1 week or 2 weeks ago, Manushya Janma Durlabham. That means the greatest birth you could have and wished for is the birth of a human being. Because only you have been endowed with intellect. So the intellect must be alert at all times. Otherwise, what will come? If the intellect is sleeping, intellect is Krishna, right? Krishna was driving Arjuna's chariot. Can you imagine if Krishna was sleeping? Doesn't matter if he is Krishna. If he was sleeping, Arjuna would have been the first victim. Dronacharya would have just knocked him with one arrow. So, move away. Sankara is saying in this verse 14, he said, move away from this thought of minimum work, maximum comfort. That is why Jatilo Mundi, Lunchita Kesha, all these fellows are what? All for the sake of the belly, right? A form of escapism. Udaranimitham. That means all for the sake of the belly. We all have to eat. This is not just true in the era that we live in, right? Even in Shankara's time, when he was in Kashi, when he was in, all these holy places, Madura, all these places, he used to see, so many people in, orange robes, matted locks, shaven heads, doing all kinds of, actions. And so people were giving them dakshina, people were giving them fruit, people were giving them clothes. Okay. So they're all surviving. It's a life, right? So he says, it's not just false holy men that he's talking about in this verse 14. Yeah, remember, he's using them as an example. But what he's pointing at is false leaders, false policemen, false artists, false people, all sorts. But as an example, he's using Tatilo Munti Lunchita Kesha. People are doing this all around. So what he's saying is, to the unguarded mind, the whispers of the lower passions, To the unguarded mind, the whispers of the lower passions become suddenly more urgent than the call of the higher aspirations. Desire for enjoyment makes man slip from his own high values of life and discipline. Krishna said this to Arjuna. You can't fight Arjuna. You know why? Because you are caught in the life that you now reflect, saying, he is my Guru, Dronacharya. They are my brothers, Kauravas. So how can I shoot my arrow to the great Pitama who trained me since I was young, who gave me love, who showed me the path? How can I fight him? Arjuna, you are living in the world, but you're not living in the truth of who you are and why you were born and why this Gandhava has come to your hand. Why this Gandhava has come to your hand. So Krishna says to Arjuna, Yato tato yapi kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha indriyani pramadhini haranti prasabham manaha. He says, look, the senses are so strong and turbulent. O son of Kunti, Kaunteya, that they can forcibly carry you away from the path of dharma, from the path of right action, even though you may have been endowed with some discrimination, even though you are practicing some self-control. That is the power of the strength. The power of the strength of the senses. And that is why I said to you, Krishna holding the reins, the 5 horses, remember, are your 5 senses. The reins are discrimination and control. Krishna holding it is the buddhi. Arjuna is the mind, manas. Unless you apply all this to your lives, it is not going to become easy. So talking about eyes, you have eyes, but do you have the right vision? Samyak drishti, what Buddha spoke about. Samyak drishti, samyak vak, samyak chintanam, samyak shravanam. This is what you need. Buddha says the vice of the virtuous self is drowned in the persistent honks of selfish desire. Then why do you falter in living a noble life? Asks Buddha. Why do you falter when you know this? So now I want you to think about this. Reflect and then act, right? Try and think. Become aware of the mistakes that you have made knowingly or unknowingly, right? Knowingly is more important, right? Note them down, write them down. Accept fully, I made this mistake knowingly. Accept fully, repent truly, and make conscious changes to rectify them wholeheartedly, right? And you can do this on a daily exercise. Very, very powerful to, self-correct. Right? What did Vivekananda say? I stand for the truth. Vivekananda said, I stand for the truth. Truth will never ally itself with falsehood. Even if the whole world should be against me, truth will prevail in the end. Yatho satyam tatho Krishna, yatho Krishna tatho jayam. Truth will. So this verse 14 talks to you about exercising such discrimination as is necessary to always be connected with the truth of everything that happens in front of you. Simple, right? Let's now go to verse 15. Angam galitam palitam mundam, dashana vihinam jatam tundam, vruddho yati gritva tandam, tadapina munchat asha pindam. Fantastic. Angam galitam palitam mundam, dashana vihinam jatam tundam, vruddho yati grihitva dandam, tadapina munchatya shapindam. Even angam is your deha, your body, right? Galitam means as it grows old. Palitam mundam, right? Head has become bald. Dashana vihinam jatam tundam, right? Gums has become toothless. Jatam tundam. Dashana vihinam, that means you are no longer able to walk yourself. You are leaning on some wood or some crutches or something like that. Vruddho yati grihitva dandam. Even then, tadapina munchat asha pindam. Even that is the case of the man. He is still firmly attached. He clings on firmly to fruitless desires. So here he's talking about the truth, but the truth connected to right action, the ability to discriminate wisely, right? So basically he's talking about right conduct and right attitude. You see, Jatam Tundam, that means toothless. When you are born, you are toothless. And in most cases, when we die, we don't have tooth. What you see may be false teeth, right? So from toothless to toothless, womb to tomb, birth to death. This is the journey of the body. There's nothing you can do to reverse this natural process. There's nothing you can do. There is no product in the world, right? If you think you are so clever, you can come up with products. Can you think how more clever your creator is? He's saying, you try what you want. This product can rejuvenate and reverse aging process. Okay, next thing, why don't you come up with something to say we can prevent death from happening? Go. After all, you are all already saying, the Brihadaranya Upanishad, Asattoma Sadgamaya, move me. Tamastoma Joditgamaya, elevate me. Mrityorma Amridam Gamaya, grant me. So, to move from death to immortality shouldn't be a problem because you're a world of scientists. So if they can create products to reverse the aging process, right? So why haven't they come up with something that can prevent or stop death, deter death? Just halt it, This is what we say, body killing, mind willing. Why do you let your mind become a victim in this fruitless exercise? So the Acharya says, when youth is spent in sensuous dissipation, the mind becomes accustomed to indulgence. That mind now has become so accustomed to the indulgence that it is difficult. The mind is the same, right? Don't forget, you are aging every day, every year, every decade. You are aging, but the mind does not age. But how you've trained the mind? Indulgence, desire, indulgence, desire, indulgence. So the mind is connected to that. Even though at 80 and 90 and 70, you are still old because you've grown old naturally, but the mind is still attached to it. That is the reality. The reality is eventually the body ages and loses its ability to indulge. And you accept that because you have no teeth, so you can't eat what you used to eat when you were young. You accept that. But the untrained and immature mind continues to persecute the feeble body of torrents of unfulfillable desires. The untrained and immature mind continues to persecute the feeble body with torrents of unfulfillable desire. Okay, I understand that, brother. I know what you're saying. I hear you. But what do we do? How do we do what we are supposed to do? It's all well and good. You're telling us all this. How do we do? Very easy. Train the mind. It's your mind. Only you can train it. So slowly but surely, you will be able to turn things around. But the first thing is, it begins with the thought that I can change. The I can change. How? The I must be converted to the V. Once it is vibrating at the V level, then convert the V to Him. So your journey is complete. I to V to Him. Swami says that. So the first thought is you saying, you coming with that injunction, saying, I can, I shall, and so I will. I can, I shall, and so I will. Nothing is going to stop me when He is with me. Nothing is going to stop me when He is with me. Okay, we think like that. 1 or 2 days we are fine. We go back to the cycle. We live a very compromised life, my dear brothers and sisters, right? We live a very compromised life according to the whims and fancies of our lives. We are caught, every week I try and give you some acronym, This week I got 2 for you. Okay, the first one is OPD. OPD. Obsession, possession, depression. Finish. If you are obsessed with the quality and want or desire of possessing things, possessing power, possessing position, possessing people, possessing, the end result is depressing. Obsession, possession, depression, OPD. Note it down. The power of desire, you must know, if you don't, then you must be told, is unending and irresistible. Unending and irresistible. So discipline the mind now, says the master. Master the mind and become a mastermind. Otherwise, prepare to face the unbearable plight of a dilapidated body that is unable to execute the plans of a thirsty mind. Don't ask me to repeat that because that just came, right? Discipline the mind now. Swami says, master the mind and become a mastermind. So what is there to help us? Well, you must understand, wherever there is Satya, truth, there will also be Maya, illusion, and Moha, desire, to detract you. Because these two come together, like twins they are. Satya is there, Maya will tell Moha, come go. Let's see how truthful this person is to truth. I will create an illusion, you create the desire. Right? And we always fall into that trap of one or both. So, in my talks on the Vedanta or Vedantic philosophy, many times people have asked questions saying that all this, sounds like some utopian concept. It sounds like some esoteric subject. It is only meant for armchair intellectuals, not for ordinary men and women like us. No, you're very wrong. You're very wrong. As I say to them, it is for men and women of action and dynamism. It is a call for change in your attitude and in your behavior and in your inner self. It is a clarion call. The Vedanta is a clarion call for you to initiate this change, a change for the better and a change from within. This is what it is all about. It's not some, concept that you cannot detach yourself from. Vivekananda said, I stand for truth. You know what I said to you earlier. Even if the whole world is against me, truth will prevail in the end. So why do you worry? Again, Krishna in chapter 2, verse 56, he told Arjuna that. Dukeshva anudvignamana sukeshu vigatasprihaha vitaragavaya krodha sthita dirmuniruchyate. One whose mind remains undisturbed amidst misery and calamity. One who does not crave for the pleasure and who is free from attachment, fear and anger. He is the one on the path of spiritual wisdom. So my question to you at this stage, after all this information, right? Do you think you can be happy if you have problems? Do you think you can be happy if you have problems? So you answer yourself, right? Don't have to audibilize your answer. Most of you would say, no, if you're not, if you don't have problems, then maybe you can be happy. But if you have problems, surely you're unhappy all the time. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story. Now, there was a Zen monk who used to move from village to village. Then he went to this village and people saw him, sitting under the tree, meditating in a complete state of peace and all of that. And then one by one started coming, Soon the whole village gathered in front of him. And they were lamenting and complaining about life, how unhappy they are, so much of problems, this, that, everything, So he said to them, come tomorrow at 12 o'clock, midday, 12 midday, right? And I shall communicate as an oracle. Oracle means a voice medium, right? I shall communicate as an oracle with God. But before you come at 12, you must do this first. You take a sack, a gunny sack, and you put all your problems in the sack, thinking, literally. Thinking, put, okay, this problem, that problem, that problem, that problem, that problem. Put all this in a sack. Take it across the river and leave it, throw it in the river. Then, in the same sack, put everything that you desire for. Whatever you want, whether it's money, house, gold, jewelry. Put everything back in that and bring it home. Okay, tomorrow 12 o'clock, come and do this. The villagers were thinking, this fellow looks a bit intelligent, but surely this can't be right. We said, anyway, we've got nothing to lose, right? Nothing to lose, so let's try it. So next day at noon, they came, all the villagers came with sacks. Some came with 2 or 3 sacks. Not because they have that much problem, because they want to take back more. It is in giving that you receive, right? Don't forget that. So next day they packed all their problems in the sacks. They went across the river, they emptied it in the river, and then they all thought, okay, I want a big house, I want 2 cars, I want money in the bank, I want jewelry, I want diamonds, everything. So they saw the monk under the tree. He was, he was moving his lips, and as though he was in communication with God. So he said, okay, tatastu, whatever you wish for will be granted. Right? So the villagers were very anxious. When they went back, they were so surprised. Oh my God, it's amazing. My house is turned into a palace. Mine is a big bungalow. Mine is a double-story house. Mine is a single-story. Oh, everything they had came through. Everything they had put in the, as a wish into the sack had come through. They were all so happy. Their joy knew no bounds. But after 2 days, the fellow with the double story, he was living in a hut before. Hut. H-U-T. Hut. Now, because of that wish, he got a double story. But he was looking at his neighbor's palace. How come? I got a double story, that fellow got a palace. I got 1 car, that fellow has got 3. And his wife is saying, I only got this diamond necklace. Look, she is decked in diamond from head to toe. So soon what happened? Every single person started to compare with each other in the village, saying, I only have these, I only have these, I don't have that, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have that. So they came back after a few days to the villagers, all came back to the monk, right? Because until you learn, the village was once again plunged into, frustration, discontent, and, unhappiness. So the point is, even if God solves your problems, he cannot stop your desire. Even if God solves all your problems, like he did for the villagers, he cannot stop the desire of saying, oh, double story, maybe a palace would have been good. Palace, maybe a bigger mansion. So where is this desire going to stop? No one can stop your desire, my friends, no one, right? Because if he could do it, he would have done it. They could do it, they would have done it. But he wants to show you that only you yourself are empowered to do that. Only you, O Manusha, can do something with your life in order to excel yourself from the stage of Manusha to the position of the Purusha. Only you yourself, by suppressing this desire and increasing the value of your intellectual wisdom, your buddhi. Suppressing desire means suppressing the mind, manas. Only with intellect you can suppress the mind. How do you develop intellect? I told you, isn't it? Move with highly empowered people. Right? Remember what I told you a couple of weeks ago? I said, anything or anyone who makes you weak physically, intellectually, and spiritually, they are poison. Move away from them. Right? Absolute poison. Remember, we all come together in the name of family. It doesn't mean we have to release everything else that we were born for. The philosophy of life is, I give you all this to live this life and to realize the purpose of this life and to merge with him. Parame Brahmane kopina saktaha. You attach yourself to everything, but you don't attach to the Parabrahman who can take you away from this cycle of birth and rebirth. You think only you have problems in life? Let me talk to you about Lord Krishna and his problems. At birth, he wanted to be, he was a subject of a murder. His uncle Kamsa wanted to kill him. Kamsa Chanura Maddanam. Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Mande Jagatgurum. From birth, Krishna's life was riddled with problems. Even during birth, Kamsa was already waiting. But divine help will come. I've also always told you that. Leave the problem at his feet. Surrender. And you will see he will send the right people at the right time for the right reason. You don't have to question that at all. 100%. Yat kale tatho when the time comes, there you will see me. Right? So Krishna, from birth, his life had problems, right? None of us had that problem at birth, but he had the problem, right? Then, of course, as he grew and he became Arjuna's charioteer, Arjuna, didn't he create a lot of problems for Krishna? Last minute, didn't want to fight, putting his armor aside, his Gandiva, putting aside, saying, I don't want to fight, And then, of course, at the end of the war, Krishna was always on Dharma. Dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami is always on Dharma, right? At the end of the war, when the Pandavas won the war, and he went back to the palace taking them, what is Kaurava's mother? What's her name? Can't remember her name now.
Gandhari.
That's it, Gandhari. I know it was a G. Gandhari, what did Gandhari say to him? Gandhari cursed him. Gandhari cursed him. Did Gandhari not know about the adharmic behavior of Duryodhana and the 99 brothers? Did Yudhishthira not know? But as a king, his eyes of Dharma and Satya was completely Maya, one eye's block, Moha, one eye's block, even though he's blind. Still, he could not move away. Remember what I said to you about pure love and infatuation, right? Dhritarashtra was a complete example of, King Dhritarashtra was a complete example of this Maya and Moha, completely. So Krishna says, learn to live, learn to view equally the concept of joy and sorrow. Learn to be open to joy in the same way you have to be open to sorrow. They are two sides of the same coin. Try and learn from them. Clarity will emerge. This clarity will bring you bliss. Attitude in life is what matters. Happiness is not in the external things. If you move out of the external things and move within, you will find that happiness. So why aren't you doing it? Question now. Okay, so how do we control our mind from desire? Because, how it's difficult. So train the mind and discipline it. If we can discipline animals who are not born with intellect, right? Intellect, the quality of intellect, the quality of analyzing and processing, right? Life-wise, they may be, street-wise, they may be clever, they may be survival, survival of the fittest, that kind of thing. But I'm saying they don't have intellect because they don't have a mind to control. But you, as a human being, you are given that mind for you to live and control. Story of a goat. One day this king called all the villagers and gave them one goat each. And he said, I'm going to give you this goat. In 3 weeks, I want you to bring back this goat. But when you bring it back, I will feed this goat with green leaves. And anyone who cannot make the goat desist the green leaves, that means not eat the green leaves, I will punish. The person whose goat does not eat the green leaves when offered by me, that person I will reward with X amount of money and gold. Okay? King said this, and he gave every single villager a goat. He said, fully feed it, whatever you want to feed it, but it cannot eat the green leaves when I feed it, when you bring it back to me. So everybody was happy, you're going to get some money. So they made it a habit to feed the animals fully, so full that it would not eat anything else, right? But one girl in the village thought about this, and she only wanted to feed the goat with green leaves. Villagers will think, are you stupid or what? Because the king said, when you go there, he's going to give green leaves. If you train this fellow to eat green leaves, of course he will eat it. The girl said, okay, carry on. So the girl, what she did was, she will place a nice, beautiful bowl of green leaves in front of the goat, and she will wait there beside this with the stick. Every time the goat went for the leaf, she'll beat the goat's mouth. Beat, 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 beat. Beat the mouth with a stick. Repetition of this same procedure had the effect of deterring the goat from touching the green leaves, even when they were placed right before it, although its stomach was not full, it was hungry. Okay? So 3 weeks later, the king says, oh, everybody come, right? And of course, everybody's goat ate the green leaves which was offered by the king. Because, animals, I said to you, they don't think. Whatever food you offer, they will continue to eat, right? For example, fish. If you have fish aquarium and you overfeed, the fish will eat and the fish will die. The stomach will burst. Same thing like that with most animals. But this girl, when she brought a goat, she put, all those leaves were put behind. She was just waiting there with the stick. And the goat didn't flinch. It didn't go for the leaf. It didn't say, a leaf I'll eat. No. It just stood there. And the king was very, very surprised. He said, how did you do it? She said, constantly by repeating the discipline that made this cow completely reject the food until I took it and offered it to him directly. So there is no doubt from the story, you will know that the only way to control the mind is to practice discipline and strict discipline. This is what we call tapasya, tapasya. So strict discipline. How do you do that? So many things you can do, isn't it? This coming to 16, verse 16. Agne vani prasthe manu, ratrau chubukka samarpita janu, karatala vikshas tarutalavasa, tadapina munchat yasha pasha. Agre vani prasthe bhanu, ratrau chubukka samarpita janu, Karatala bhikshas tarutala vasas tadapina munchatyasha pasha Bhaja Govindam. Behold, there lies a man who sits warming up his body with the fire in front and the sun at the back. At night he curls up the body to keep out the cold. Ratrau chubuk samarpita janu. Right? He eats his beggar's fruit from the bowl of his hand and sleeps beneath the trees. The last line, Tadapi, however, na munchat yasha basha. Still, in his heart, he is a wretched puppet at the hands of his passions and desires. So here, Shankara is telling you, look at the value of contentment and gratitude. Now, I spoke about gratitude a lot. Contentment and gratitude. So this verse he is trying to describe asceticism in its extreme, right? Here the man lives on bare necessities. Still he does not get freedom from his desire. Why is that? He lives under the tree, no roof, despite severe weather. He denies worldly comforts and is not able to overcome desire. Why? Because, like I said before, last week or week before, I can't remember, it is easy to give up possessions. But it is very difficult to give the dependency up, the dependency on the possessions. It is not, it is okay for you to be attached to a possession, but without the quality of being possessive. That's the thing. You are so dependent on the quality of possessing that the possession becomes the object that covers the truth of reality. See, desire has no connection with possessions, but possessiveness, right? A person living in the lap of luxury may have no desires with no possessions, may be obsessed with desires for all, because he wants something that his neighbor wants, right? You, and only you, can decide what you want. Not your neighbor. Just because he buys a new car doesn't mean you have to get a new car. Although people around you say, come on, your neighbor's got a new car. He's done his house up. Why didn't you do your house up? So we continuously live in this world for what other people want us to do and for what we need to do because others are doing it. Move away from this. This is what Vedanta is telling. Vedanta enables you to shut your desires, which is the root cause of all sorrow, and gain objects of desire effortlessly. How? Change the desire to something of a higher ideal, something of a higher value, right? This is the central theme of the Vedanta. For generations, Not just Indians, people all over the world have misunderstood this. Vedanta exhorts us to give up desire, not the objects of desire. Please understand that. The problem is with chasing after things in a beggarly manner when in fact we are blessed with all that we need. So it is not a physical abundance that makes you a happy man. It is a mental abundance that makes you a happy person. Once you vibrate in this mental abundance, I have everything that I need to live a comfortable life, to live a happy life, then you are not going to feel the lack of anything. And when you feel that way, you attract good things. Vedanta has been saying this, but some joker writes a book and call it The Secret. Some Westerner has written something called the Law of Attraction. Yes, we believe that. But all that they are saying is repackaging the information that has come to you generically through generations on the basis of free for everybody. No, but we'll go and pay for a course for them to come and tell it in a language that we understand, to be completely and totally exploited by this. Is that free? Bhagavad Gita, no. Gita is for elderly generation. I'm only 40 now. When I'm 60, I'll begin to read. So if you think you're going to be alive till 60, that's fine. You look at the state of mind of King Janaka. Janaka and Sudama. Sudama was Krishna's best friend. King Janaka, if you look at his history, he was a rishi. He was a Raja Rishi. Right? But he became the king. And of course, he found Sita and all that. Right? And you look at the pauper that Sudama was from birth till death. Even though the Lord was on this earth and the Lord was his closest best friend. See, that's why I say God does not get involved in karma, in your karma, but he will make sure that the dharma is observed. Both Janaka and Sudama reached the exalted state of realization, self-realization. That means they were both satisfied, they were both content, they were both reveling in the self. They neither needed nor did they seek the outer world and all that the outer world offered. See, their attitude to the world was that of a waker to his own erstwhile dream. Most of us are still sleeping in that dream. So we have a problem. But after awakening, the wise have little interest in the frivolities of the dream, isn't it? After you wake up, you know that was a dream. So why do you think and repeat those things in actual state of awakening? You can enjoy it whilst you're sleeping. It's a dream, fine. But when you awake, you must know it's a dream and you must say, this is reality. So you need to take a fresh look at your desires and see the absurdity of seeking mere objects of the world, when in fact you can seek a higher object, seek a higher object, seek a higher ideal. You got some desire, okay, seek a higher one. You got something else, seek a higher one. Always try and, it's every action has an equal and proportionate reaction. Apply it. Then you can start to control your mind. Fix a larger goal, one that goes beyond your petty wants, your petty needs, your petty desires. Then the lower one will drop. Like in an auction, the price of a good is X. And then one person says Y, and one person says Z. No matter how good Y was as an offer, it is killed by Z, because Z was a higher offer. So in the same way, when the thought of a desire comes, replace that, kill that with a higher offer of another desire. Until you desire yourself. So this is how you grow. As a child, you had so many desires, isn't it? Now as an adult, are you still longing after those things? You didn't. And at no stage did you decide to give them up knowingly, willingly, consciously. But as you move through the stages, they automatically just fell out of your thing, isn't it? This is because you moved on to something else. You moved on to something else. You moved on to something else. So the object of desire never stays permanent. In the same way is what I am telling you. The moment a desire comes, move away to a higher object. Move away from a higher object. It is easy to speak. No. First, trial is difficult. After that, it becomes easy. So how can Vedanta help us? Of course, Vedanta tells us that as long as you are feeding your desire, you will feel inadequate because your desires will continue, but your adequacy will not be permanent. Therefore, you will always feel that you don't have something, you don't have something, you don't have something, you don't have something. But when you feel that you are self-adequate, then you are moving away from this ignorance. Right? Vedanta points out that the problems of life is not understanding and not accepting the nature of the reality. And that's why you feel that inadequacy. Right? That inadequacy or incompleteness that you feel is not legitimate. It's not genuine. Right? It is something that comes about as a result of ignorance or arrogance. Ignorance or arrogance. That, the two M's, Maya and Moha. They come and take you to ignorance or to arrogance, or take you to both. That is why in the Mundakya Upanishad it is said, Pariksha lokan karmachittan brahmano nivedamayan nastya kritaketanaha tat vijnananartam sa gurumeva vigachat samitpani shrotriyam brahmanishtam. Said, having analyzed the worldly experiences and achievements acquired through karma, a mature person gains dispassion and discerns that the uncreated limitlessness cannot be produced by action. That can only be produced by external inaction and internal action. To know that immutable reality, that limitlessness, you should go into servitude, service. That's why Swami says, Swami has given us all the answers, Service to man is service to God. So just engage in service and become a karma yogi. Or if you want to go bhakti yoga, love all, serve all, help ever, hurt never. We say all these things, but to what extent do we apply and practicalize it in our daily life? When one understands what is the limitlessness, one should limit one's own desire. Then one is going through the right path, So you ask the question, isn't it? Okay, is self-denial therefore an outcome of suppression or sublimation? I can't understand this. Actually, this was asked to me, by the Christian pastor in Cambridge when we had a multi-faith forum meeting. He said, yes, Professor, we hear you, but tell me something, self-denial from a Hindu perspective, is it the outcome of suppression or is it the outcome of sublimation? I said, depends on how you view desire. I said, from a worldly perspective, desire, D-E-S-I-R-E. In that same word, you find R-E-S-I-D-E. What does that mean? Reside. You reside in your desires. As long as you reside in your desires, then self-denial is suppression. Suppression can never go to the root cause of the problem. But once you decide not to reside in the desire, then that self-denial is a result of sublimation, of a higher thought, of a higher consciousness, of a moving, where you're not entertaining the baser thoughts. So earlier I gave you one acronym, right? OPD, obsession, possession, depression. Now I'm giving you another one. It's called MBA. It's not your Masters in Business Administration. And this is a different type of MBA, right? It's called MBA, Mind-Body Alignment. Befriend the mind and align the mind to regulate the body through its own thought flow. Mind-body alignment. OPD, obsession, possession, depression, mind-body alignment. So try this out to see how connected you are. So see whether when you deny yourself something, is it because you're suppressing it or because you've become now, from a thought process, sublime in your thinking. So you're denying yourself that. So try this out. Switch off mobile internet in your house. One day. Yeah? Don't bother too much about how you look or what you're wearing, but carry on about your daily work, your daily chores, if you have to go out, go to work, carry on. Don't eat out for a day. No mobile internet. In short, I'm asking you to follow your daily routine, but with the least amount of resources. Then, after the full day has been finished, you sit back and you think, reflect deeply, right? Deep reflection. How was my day? How was the experience? Why? Why did I experience this? You know, those days, when people wanted to book hotels for holiday and all, they will find out which hotel, whether it's nice, everything. Now, the first question they ask is, got Wi-Fi or not? Got Wi-Fi or not? Or not means next hotel, right? The challenge for you. One whole day, no, no internet, no frivolities that you've been attached to, normal. I always get that one day when I take a t-shirt that is a bit old or not ironed, all the ladies in my house will say, Papa, what's this? My wife will say, why you have no shirt or what? So try this out one day, right? So the value is being peace. Peace, not with externals, peace internally. Because when you're at peace internally, then you can give the same thing which you are enjoying internally outward. Contentment. From contentment comes gratitude. From gratitude comes ananta, bliss. So one day this father, wealthy fellow, wanted to take his son out to the country, right? Because he wanted to show his son how well off they are and how grateful he should be, because the father is giving him all this, richness and wealth and, comfort and comfortable life and all of that. He wanted to show him how poor people can be, and therefore think how lucky you are to be my son and to be living with me, right? So he went to this village. He took the son to the village, and they went to, they walked around to see how poor people live. They lived in for a day or two, they lived in a village, like a stable, so the father wanted the son to experience all this, right? So 1 or 2 days later, they came back to the house where they live, in all that, in all that grandeur. So the father asked the son, so son, did you enjoy the trip? The son said, yes, Dad, I did very much. So then the father asked, so what did you learn from this? And the son said, I saw Dad, we have 1 dog and they had 4, that family that we lived with. We have a pool that reaches to the middle of our garden. They have a creek that has no end. We have imported lanterns in our gardens, and they have the stars at night burning brightly. Our patio reaches to the front yard, and they have the entire horizon before them. We have a small piece of land that we live on. They have the fields that go beyond their sight. We have servants who serve us, but they live their life serving others. We buy our food, Dad, but they grow theirs. We have walls around us to protect us and our property. They have friends who will protect them. The boy's father was speechless. Then his son added, thank you very much, Dad, for showing me how very poor we are. Get that learning there. Fantastic learning there. Too many times we forget. Let me repeat this. Too many times we forget what we have and we concentrate on what we don't have. Naturally, the result of that is unhappiness. Too many times we forget what we have and focus and concentrate on what we don't have. Because one man's meat is another man's poison. What is worth to you may be worthless to another person. What is a priceless possession to you may mean nothing to another person. It is all based on perception, on the glasses with which you see the things. That glasses, if you don't use the wiper of truth, it will be misty and it will be obscured. No? Perspective. Change your perspective and you will change your sense of appreciation. Change your sense of appreciation, you will change the acceptance, right? One can be happier and develop peace of mind when one is contented and has the attitude of gratitude. Because thank you for all the blessings in life, right? One who has the least desire is a multi-billionaire, and one who has the most desires is a poor fellow. Poor man, pauper. Yes, but we all have problems, So let me end this week by talking to you about a conversation between man and God. A man who had problems, so he decided to talk to God. So let's assume that he calls God, right? The man says, hello, God? God says, hello. Man says, I'm falling apart. Can you put me back together? God says, I'd rather not. Man says, why? God says, because, son, you're not a puzzle. But what about all the pieces of my life that is falling to the ground? God says, leave them there for a while. They fell for a reason. Let them be there for a while and then decide if you need to take any of those pieces back. Please listen very carefully to this conversation, right? He says, leave them there for a while. All these pieces that is falling off your life, right? And then you can decide whether you need them back into your life or not. Man says, but you don't understand. I'm breaking. God says, no, you don't understand, my son. You are transcending. You are evolving. You are growing. What you feel is growing pains. What you feel is symptomatic. You are getting rid of the things and people in your life that are holding you back. Let me repeat this for those of you out there who are now, going through this problem with people or with things. This is God telling in this conversation, what you feel is just growing pains. It is symptomatic. You are getting rid of all the things and all the people in your life that are holding your own journey back. These are the pieces that are actually falling down. The pieces are being put in place. So you, my son, relax, take a deep breath and let those things that you no longer need fall down. Let those things let those people that you no longer need fall away. Stop clinging on to them. Stop clinging on to the pieces, and each time something falls, you take and put it back into your life. Then how will you let me without letting go? The man said, yeah, I hear you, God. I hear you. But if I start doing that, and if everything falls, what will I have left? The typical mind of man, right? God says, my son, my dearest son, you will only have the best of yourself in place. You will only have your best of yourself in place. But I'm afraid to change, God. I keep telling you, you are not changing. You are becoming. You are evolving. You are evolving. Becoming? I don't understand. Becoming who? Becoming who I created you to be. A person of light, a person of love, a person of charity, a person of hope, a person of courage, a person of joy, a person of peace, a person of mercy, a person of grace, a person of compassion. This is why I created you like this. I make so much to work for you, but you, in your own shallow wallowing of your mindless desires, you decide to adorn yourself with all these pieces. And now when they fall off, you want me to put them back? I say, no, become. Don't change. Become. Let those things fall and become what you were meant to be. Become what I wanted you to be, what I created. I'm going to keep telling you that until you remember. And the man says, there goes another piece. It's falling. Let it be. So, God, what are you saying? I'm not broken? And God says, my dearest son, no, you're not broken, but you're breaking the darkness of ignorance. Like dawn, it's a new day. The night has to come for dawn to emerge. Likewise, become who you really are. That, my dear brothers and sisters, brings us to the end of week 6. Become who you really are. Anyada sharanam nasti tvameva sharanam mamaha tasmat karunya bhavena raksha Sai Ishvaraha. Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Sai Ishvarat Pranamastu.